Okay, so what you're going to do now, since you have your flat finished, your front of your flat, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make the back of the flat. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your black arrow and select everything. And it would help if I had all of this unlocked. So I'm going to select everything. And I'm going to copy it and paste it. So if you remember, the back collar is this area right here. So if this is the back of the flat, what we're going to do is just take our arrow tool and we're going to erase the front collar. And what we're going to do at that point is just extend this back collar out. So go ahead and do that. So one of the reasons why I had you guys do this layer at the bottom here as an outline is so that we could create a fill. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and select everything. And right here, we're going to change this to black. We don't need to see these strokes anymore. It's cool if we just make them all one uniform black. So now they look like this. So when you create a flat that's simple like a t-shirt and you make this outline at the bottom, it's really easy to simply fill it in a solid color. So to do that, what we're gonna do is, instead of it having this red stripe through the fill, meaning there's no fill, you can select a color over here on the spectrum, or if you have a specific color you want to use. And that'll fill the flat. So I'm going to do that again on this one. Now, one of the things we do in the industry is we will make the back neck a little bit darker or gray to show depth. So in a case like this, I feel like using a live paint bucket tool would be the most optimal thing to do. So the first thing is that you would select everything on this layer. And you would do Command G. You're going to select all of it, and then you're going to use something called your Live Paint Bucket tool. So it's below your Shape Builder tool. So if I were to have my bar like this, it's underneath the push pin. I right click and I say Live Paint Bucket. And what that's going to allow me to do is fill in those lines. So I want to change this color to like a greenish gray. And I can just click, and I have that back neck. So the reason why it's good to use the Live Paint Bucket tool is so you could do something simple like this. Especially in a situation where, you know, when we filled in this flat, this was the outline, so it's going to fill this whole thing in this mint green color, whereas when I do the Live Paint Bucket tool, it defines kind of these edges. So I could do it that way. Another thing I could do is I could copy certain areas, so I could Command C, paste, and then I'm going to use my white arrow tool here, select this part, copy and paste it. And I'll probably have to take my black arrow and do that. And then what I can do is, it's creating that green because the fill is still on. What I can do is select these ends with the white arrow and do Command J, select this, change my fill option to having no stroke, and we're going to change this to like a gray, hit OK. Then I can take this, put it on here, go over to my layer options. So I'm going to go to Window and I'm going to do Transparency. and I can make this about 54% and go to multiply. And that's another option of how to get a fill in the back. So what I'm going to show you guys now is why you wouldn't want to use the live paint bucket tool. I opened up a file that I had made, and I went ahead and I duplicated this vest so that you can see what would happen if I went ahead and I created a live paint bucket. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this area, and I'm going to select my live paint bucket tool, and I'm going to fill this area in. I don't care what color it is, I'm just showing you guys. It's going to come up with this warning telling me that complex visual appearances may be lost when I'm converting to a live paint bucket group, and this will show you. So if I zoom in so you can see this a little bit better, what you'll notice is that some of my areas, like these tapers, are completely lost. See how this is just one thick stroke? This is being overlapped. This is an example of why you would not want to do your live paint bucket group. Still frustrated with Illustrator and you feel like no matter what, you're not able to fill this. So what you can do, it's actually really easy. You can open up Photoshop, and I already have it pre-selected so that I have a new file. It's 8.5 by 11, just standard paper size. And what I'm going to do is copy both of my items on Illustrator. So Command C, and then I'm going to open up my window on Photoshop, and I'm going to paste it. And I want to paste it as pixels is fine. And I'm going to scale it so it's a little bit bigger right now. And what you can do is you can go in with your paint bucket tool, and this is, you know, pick your color you want, okay, fill it in. So you can do it that way as well. The reason why I'm not the biggest fan of this method is because if I zoom in, you can see that it loses some of the quality that it would have in a vector file. It gets pixelated. We are at 500%, however. Sometimes when you convert it into a PDF, it'll still kind of look fuzzy or grainy. So that is up to you. That's your judgment call. I find that in some cases, sometimes it is easier to do it this way, but again, it is up to you.